In today's Warzone video, I'm going to give you the top 8 loadouts you should be using after the update. I was very surprised by how this update went. There's a lot of really great buffs, so let's jump into it. But before that, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and now let's hop into this. All right, so after this here, the first one we take a look at here is the Modern Warfare Kilo. And yes, this actually got buffed here. Pretty much, I was talking to Jay God, and he was saying, quote unquote, it feels like he got buffed back into Verdansk. So this is a really solid gun here, according to him and also via the stats. So let's actually hop into a good build for you guys to dominate with. So first thing, muzzle category, we're gonna go for the mono suppressor here, like always, sound suppression, and of course that beautiful damage range. Barrel section, we go for the 19.8 Prowler. We always got to use the Prowler barrel over the SOCOM. There's no reason you guys should be using the SOCOM. The Prowler does everything the SOCOM does, but does it better. So always use the Prowler no matter what. Now in the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the Commando foregrip here, recoil stabilization, aiming stability. Gotta love this. It's just going to help stabilize out this weapon just enough. I mean, don't need another grip on here, but if you feel like you really need something to help out that recoil control, maybe go for something like a Ranger foregrip, but keep in mind that will slow you down more than running something like a Commando foregrip. In the magazine section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the 60-round mag. I'm a 60-round magazine kind of guy, so you know what I'm saying. Absolutely love the 60-round mag on this gun. And then for our last thing here in the optics section, we have a few different options, I should say. We have the Corp Combat Hollow Sight, which is an absolutely incredible attachment to run on this thing. It's great for that medium-ish range. Then we also have, of course, the VLK 3x optic, which would be a lot more Verdansk era or Verdansk-esque, just because that's what a lot of people ran. This is the setup right here for it. Then we also, down here at the very bottom, have the option for the PBX Hollow 7 sight, which actually looks really cool. It's basically just the Corp Combat Hollow, but looks ever so slightly different and just a little bit cooler in my opinion. So with that being said, you have a couple of different options in here. Run it up. It's up to you guys, but I'm going to go for the Corp Combat, and this is my full builds here for the Kilo 141. Super happy this thing got a buff, and now on to another Modern Warfare weapon. All right, now we're going to take a look here at the CR56 AMAX. I was not expecting this to get a buff here either, but I mean, they're going ahead and they're buffing a whole bunch of Modern Warfare and Cold War weapons, so this is kind of a welcome surprise here today. But let's get into a build here for the AMAX. First thing, muzzle, we're gonna go for the mono suppressor here. Run this on all of our Modern Warfare weapons. Ain't gotta explain this one too much. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the XRK Zodiac S440 barrel. Damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. Gotta run this one. There's no reason to run the Squall or the Intruder. Those are definitely not assault rifle barrels, and you have to run the XRK Zodiac. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Underbarrel section, I'm going to go for the Commando foregrip here, but much like with the Kilo 141, you can go for something like the Ranger foregrip, and that should help stabilize that a little bit more. So for some of you guys, they're going to have trouble with that recoil control, but for me personally, I go for the Commando, and that's kind of how I run this gun. Now in the magazine section, we're going to go for the 45 round mag here for the increase in overall ammo capacity. There's not a 50 or 60 round mag, though I'd prefer that to be the case. We only have this option here, so you definitely need to run the 45 on this gun. Now for our last thing, much like the Kilo 141, there's a couple of different options in here. The Corp Combat Hollow Sight's a very great option. And also the VLK 3x optic. And then of course, down at the very bottom here, the PBX Hollow 7 sight. So the same options as the Kilo, you can run it pretty much any which way. This is going to be a real fun gun to use in the meta no matter what you pick. But I'm just going to go through on the VLK here. This is going to be my full builds here for this gun. Absolutely AMAX, super happy got a buff. I'm kind of tired of seeing some of these Vanguard ARs dominate like too much. All right, and so as if the M13 was not creeping its way back into the meta already, it received a buff today here, much like the other two Modern Warfare ARs we talked about today. This got a buff here, and it's like neck damage multiplier, and it's actually pretty crazy. So that means this gun's even more effective than it already was, which I'm really happy about. So let's give you guys a build for this. Muzzle, gonna go for mono, of course, like always. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the Tempest Marksman, damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control. This is definitely a really solid thing to be able to run on this gun, and I do not recommend anything else. I've had people try to tell me to run maybe like the Tempest Cyclone or something like that. I mean, definitely do not ever do that. Only ever run the Tempest Marksman. This is how you make this gun the most effective it can be. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go for the Commando foregrip here, and once again, I've also had people try to tell me that the recoil is like a little bit too unmanageable, so that'd be something you could throw on like the Ranger foregrip for. That's very good at just stabilizing the overall vertical recoil, which is what a lot of these Modern Warfare ARs usually end up having, and it ends up pretty much stabilizing it out. But for me, I always go for the Commando. It works out beautifully. Magazine, we're gonna go for that beautiful 60-round mag. 60-round mag kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? So I absolutely love going for that 60. And then the optic section, I'm just actually going to go through on the VLK 3x optic, as this thing is going to be super fun to use at that medium to longish range, though you can always use the Corp Combat Hollow, and that'll be a great option. Actually, I'll just click this here and throw it on there. That's my full builds here for the M13. Super happy this thing actually got an update. I'm pretty hyped about this. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the H4 Blixen, undoubtedly one of the most popular and meta SMGs in Warzone right now. This received an ever so slight nerf, but I know a lot of people are still going to love using it because it's still probably technically the best SMG in the game. So let's give you guys a build for it here. Muzzle category, we're going to go for the recoil booster for the increase in overall fire rate. We run this on all of our Vanguard SMGs. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Bergstrom 17 F3 barrel. This is definitely the way to go on this thing. Absolutely love the Bergstrom, and I really would suggest you guys use this over the Johnson barrel because we just been running this for a minute now, and it's definitely the way to go. Under barrel section, we're going to go for the SG98 Compact for that aim walking movement speed, reduced scope sway, and gun bob. This is really going to help you be a little more agile. We pretty much don't actually use this SG98 Compact on any of our other weapons. It's a little bit unique to this build. Magazine, we're going to go for the 7.62 Gorenko 54 round mag. Definitely should be running the Gorenko 54 over the 36. That increase in overall torso damage really won't make much of a difference as opposed to the 54. It's going to help you out a lot more so in just your overall, damage per mag and everything like that. This is definitely the way to go. Ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthened for increase in bullet velocity. In the rear grip, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the grooved grip here for ADS fire move speed, and then horizontal recoil control. This can help stabilize this thing out here, and it's a really solid option. It's also going to make you a bit lethal at close range with that strafe. It's pretty nice. And then in the optic, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the slate reflector, though you could always go for something like maybe the Night Arm Model 47. That'll be pretty solid, but I go for the slate reflector 10 times out of 10. I just believe it to be a very nice optic, and I quite enjoy using it. Now in stock section, I'm actually going to go for the remove stock here, movement speed, sprint to move speed, and ADS speed. We don't really, take too much of a look here at these cons. Now you can also switch this out for the Bergstrom MB, and that's going to be a great option as well. It's a little bit more personal preference on what you want to use, the remove stock or the Bergstrom. It's up to you guys. Now in the perk section, I'm going to go for fleet tier for that initial weapon swap quickness and movement speed. It's a really solid perk. It's kind of like having a little bit of amped on there. And then also in perk 2, we're going to go for quick for the increase in sprint speed. This is my full build here for the H4 Blixen. Really solid even after the update, even after a nerf. Definitely still give it a shot. Next up, let's give you guys a build here also for another meta SMG, the Marco 5. This also got a bit of a nerf, but it pretty much still feels almost identical. But we just have to switch up a couple of things in here. So let's give you guys a build for it. First thing we're going to go for is the recoil booster here. Like I said, we run this in all of our Vanguard SMGs. In the barrel section, this is where it kind of gets a little bit more of a debate. People run the Amaretto barrel here, and this is a really solid one. I've also ran the Body 240mm, and this is really fun as well. But a lot of people much prefer to run the Amaretto, so I'll give you guys the recommendation on running this. It's not like just my personal preference, but this is going to be overall probably the better option. Now, in the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the Mark V Ice Skeletal here. It's really going to help out your overall movement without slowing you down too much in any really capacity. I mean, we don't really ever hip fire with this thing. Magazine, we're going to go for the 8mm Nambu 64 round drum. Absolutely having 64 rounds in the magazine. This is a really solid option. Ammunition, we're going to go for lengthened for the increase in bullet velocity like always. And the rear grip section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the taped grip here. This is going to really help us out our overall movement. And it's going to have no cons, so we absolutely love that. Optic, what we're going to do is we're going to go for slate reflector here. It's always going to be good to use a slate reflector on this gun, so I would always recommend run the slate or maybe like the Night Arm Model 47, and that's really about it. Now in the stock section, we're going to go for the Amaretto FR here. This is a real great stock for just overall increasing your movement speed and movement capabilities. In the perk 1, what we're going to do is we're going to go for momentum for that movement speed after kills. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for quick for the increase in overall sprint speed. This is my full build here on this gun. Real still solid here, even after a bit of a nerf. It's incredibly good. Definitely be using it. All right, next up, I got to give you guys a build here for the NZ41. So they tried to actually mess with this gun a little bit here because they felt it was a little bit too OP. But let's give you guys an updated build. So if you want to still use the NZ41, you definitely can. So muzzle category, MX silencer here. Definitely run the MX. It's going to make this gun the most effective it can be here as an AR. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Orb Weaver 360mm BC barrel. Always run that BC barrel on this thing. No reason to switch this out here. Even after the update, always keep this on. Underbarrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the M1930 Strife angles here for that increase in horizontal recoil control. If you guys really want to, if you feel like it kicks a little bit too much, go through on the M1941 hand stop. That'll be a really great option there as well. But I've had great success running the Strife angled. Now, magazine, we're going to go for the 6.5mm Sakura 50 round mag. Always run the Sakura 50, though I have seen people try to switch it out for the Clouser 40. I personally prefer the Sakura 50, and I'm just not ever going to switch from it. Now, ammunition, we're going to go for lengthen, increase in bullet velocity. Of course, this is an AR. Got to make sure our shots register faster at range. And then in the rear grip, we have a couple of different options in here, but more or less we're going to go for the hatch grip here for that vertical and horizontal recoil control and then increase in flinch resistance with no cons. So you can't complain about that. Optic, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go all the way down to the very bottom and go for the SVT scope. This is the 3 to 6 times magnification. Absolutely love the SVT on this thing, and I'd highly recommend you guys go for this. And if you really want to, maybe go up and run something like the G16 2.5x, because that's really solid as well. But for me personally right now, I'm going for the SVT. Stock section, we're gonna go for the Orb Weaver E-Pack. Real good for overall stabilization of this gun. Definitely recommend this. And then in perk 1, we're gonna go for Brace for the initial firing recoil. That's gonna help out, especially after they kind of nerfed that recoil a little bit. And then in perk 2, we're gonna go for Fully Loaded for maximum starting ammo capacity. This is my full builds here for the NZ41. Hasn't really changed much after the update, but still a really good AR. All right, here's another gun I was not expecting to make an update for, and that's gonna be the Cold War MP5. This thing is ridiculous now. They actually increased its overall damage range, and I'm pretty happy about that, considering this thing was kind of lacking in that department, but they buffed it here. So this has been a pretty good update for these Modern Warfare and Cold War guns. First thing, muzzle, we're gonna go for the Agency Suppressor here. This is gonna really help us out here, and this is definitely the way to go for this gun. Skipping that barrel section, going straight to the underbarrel. We're gonna go through on the Bruiser Grip here for movement speed and hip fire accuracy. Love running the Bruiser Grip on this thing. I think it is a very solid option. We're also going to go to the laser, and we're going to go through on the Tiger Team Spotlight here for movement speed and aim walking movement speed. This is going to help us double up here on the movement capabilities of this gun, as this is pretty much what this thing shines by doing, is just being super agile, super mobile, and I absolutely love running the Tiger Team. Magazine, we're gonna go through on the Stenag 50 round drum. We've been running this for a minute now. There's no reason to switch this specific thing out. You could definitely try running the Salvo 50 round fast mag, but I do believe the Stenag 50 round drum is gonna be perfectly fine. Now in the stock section, to finish this whole thing off, we're gonna go for the Raider stock. ADS-5 move speed, and walking movement speed, and of course sprint to fire time. This is a really solid build right here for this gun. Super happy this thing got buffed. I'm looking forward to using it a lot more in Warzone. And to finish off our video for today, I was not expecting also to make a update for the Pharah 83. This is an AR that is kind of criminally underrated right now, so let's give you guys a build for it since this thing got updated and buffed. Muzzle category, GRU suppressor here. This is a really solid option. We always run the GRU or the Agency on our weapons. In the barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the very bottom one here, the 18.7 Spetsnaz RPK. This is kind of like your Task Force barrel equivalent for this gun. It's either run the Spetsnaz or the Task Force, one of the two. Always got to run the last barrel here on these weapons. Under barrel section, we're gonna go for the Spetsnaz grip, horizontal vertical recoil control. Really gonna help us out here in this specific case. This gun will kind of pull up a little bit, and this will help neutralize that out. In the magazine, we're gonna go for the Spetsnaz 60 round mag, though I have actually seen people try to run like the 60 round fast mag just because the reload speed on this thing is a little bit slow, a little bit chalked. I kind of wish they would have updated that, because that's a little bit more of a caveat to me using this thing. I don't use it as much because of that, but the 60 round mag would definitely be a good option, or even the 45 round speed mag. You could probably get away with that because that won't slow down your ADS time too much, but 60 round mag is generally speaking the way to go. And for our last option here in the optics section, there's pretty much only one thing to run on this, and that's gonna be the Axle Arms 3 times. We don't ever switch this out for like some of these other different optics in here. It's not like a Modern Warfare AR, anything else like that where you can run like a variety of things. We pretty much only ever run the Axle Arms 3 times on these Cold War ARs. So this is my full builds here. This has been my video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and I'll see you guys all later. Just don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.